So the dignitary meal actually started here, and that time I got reincarnated as a slime. And I'll have to say, not much really happened in this episode per se, just a lot of little things here and there. The biggest thing that came out of this episode is that it made me super hungry. So before we get into everything, make sure you guys like the video, make sure you guys are subscribed, and if you want to support everything that we're doing here, hey, make sure you guys check out our Patreon and make sure to sign up there for full reactions that you'll see. I mean, look at this. Look at this. Like this, if you've never had sushi or anything like that, this right here, oh my Lord, I wanted it so bad, but it's like, okay, fine, whatever. They're having the greatest meal of their lives, but a lot of little things. Like, I love the fact that he has his daughter over there. I knew for sure he was about to cut up this big old fish. You could kind of see her excitement on her face as she's able to see what her father is capable of with just a fish. So it's cool that she's kind of back there helping him to, you know, hang out while, yes, the episode itself focused on everybody else, the dinner, everyone's, you know, the entrance by different people, but just having her, just the small little touch of having her in the background, just kind of hanging out with her dad, I thought was just a really nice touch. You just realize like, oh, you're my father? Okay, let's see what you could do. And she's able to kind of just check out and see what he can do. Like I said, a lot of little things happened here and there, and a lot of them being funny moments. As you can see here, we have Frey getting a little ticked off because he started describing what meals they had. He's like, oh, what do we have poultry? And he's like, oops. When Rimuru seriously apologized for it, she's like, okay, all right, it's no big deal. But then she gets his like, hey, Carrion, but you know it's a big deal. So she starts messing with him. So there was a lot of little joking moments here at this dinner party, if you will, with several other characters showing up. We have the little girl from the Rosa family show up, which is like, okay, I wondered when she was going to appear, but the fact that her first entry here is at this dignitary dinner, it's like, oh, okay, all right, we see what you're doing here. And of course, she was there for the speech that came later. Honestly, I would say like two big moments happen in this episode. One of them being to be the conversation that Shuna had about the food and how it harmonizes when you actually have a full course meal or when you have ingredients pulling together, how it's similar to what Rimuru is trying to do when trying to pull the resources of nations together and be friendly and grow closer to people. Kind of essentially taking the food and the dinner and relating it to the political standing that's around. And which really showed her wisdom in that speech and in that moment as she's putting down a guy that's just like, this food, how dare you put sauces and cook it? It's the way it should be, is raw and natural, whatever, man. Even though that guy is like an ally under Milium, how dare you make fun and chastise a meal when you have the chef and everyone else that prepared it. Now, granted, I don't think he was thinking that far ahead when he was making fun of the food, and he was trying to put his point across, like, it's so much better if you have it this way versus this way, and how dare you guys have it in this said way. To me, it was like, who are you to go out of your way to say that the way that everyone else is living is wrong? And yes, he is powerful. We saw it in last season as he did a lot of fights. We know that he's pretty strong, and Milium was like, yeah, I know he's pig-headed about this, but I just can't understand how you are going to be so full of yourself and selfish, and like the way that you enjoy a meal or enjoy something is this way, and how dare you, everybody that's in here, eat it in a different way possible when he didn't even take a bite of it. It doesn't surprise me that Shuna went off on him and was like, excuse me, try this. And then he becomes a lover of it. And it just kind of goes to show, it's like, yeah, you might be pig-headed, you might be full of yourself, but how can you come from a place of hate without knowing the other side, or even trying to see what the other side is doing in this regard? Like, how can you hate something and you didn't even take a bite or try it? Like, I can understand if he tried it and he was like, oh, this isn't my cup of tea, and then tried to say something about it, but he really disrupted the whole dinner just to come across and say, and of course, all the veins and how mad he was. And it's like, food should be this way. How dare, it's like, dude, come on, really? And now he's a believer. So it's like, okay, yeah, you ate those words, literally. Another funny moment to see her at first ticked off, but then relate the food to the political atmosphere and just kind of show, like I said, how intelligent she is as she did this. And finally, in the speech that Rimuru gave, when the class that, if you remember, he taught for a little bit, actually saw that he was the king, the demon lord, and of high nobility and status in the town, look at their surprised faces. I honestly forgot the fact that they didn't even realize who Rimuru actually was. I don't even know precisely what surprised them most. That they didn't know that he was the ruler of the nation. Like, they probably felt like he was important, but maybe not the actual ruler. The fact that he is a demon lord, or the fact that he's a slime. Like, I don't even know if he showed them at any point that he was a slime. I don't know if all of that was a surprise to them. Their faces just say so many words in this moment right here. I'm glad that they were surprised by this, and they'll probably talk about it in the next episode. They'll probably run up to Rimuru and say, hey, we didn't know this or didn't know that. Because it's been a while. It was back in, what, the first season, I believe, when he kind of dealt with them. Yes, we got a little tidbit of, I believe, last episode when he kind of interacted with them and gave them the little medallion. But it's been a while since we had several episodes where he's dealt with these kids and taught with them and talked with them. Regardless, their surprise faces are actually pretty good, and the Rosa girl is still there as well. And even though Rimuru is giving a good speech saying how he wants to bring people in together, he wants unity, he wants people to believe that he's actually a good person and wants to build good relationships with humans, he did make sure to put in the little threat saying, hey, I'm no pushover though. If you really want to do harm against me, or if you're just hating on me because I'm a monster and want to do some monster cleansing or something, know that Nuck if you buck, we will retaliate and we will fight against you. So it's good that he, the whole speech is not necessarily like, oh, we're happy-go-lucky and we're gonna have a great area and you guys gonna have a good time. He made sure to be like, yeah, we're gonna have a good time, but if you have ill intentions, know that we will stop you. I just love the fact that if you actually look at the faces of different people in the crowd, you kind of have an idea as far as, okay, who may or may not have good intentions. We know that the Elf Queen here, I think she has good intentions when she arrived on the scene and had this extravagant entrance. She made sure to tell Rimuru that we need to talk together later, which makes sense. I mean, she kind of came to the party late, if you will, because it was last episode that as a ruler, different rulers were coming and introducing and talking to Rimuru, yet she wasn't there. So yes, she comes onto the scene, she definitely is like, let's talk. And it's like, okay, we'll have time to talk later. It's like, you came late. I get it. You want to talk? We'll talk later. But right now, we're going to eat. We already know about Yuki. We already know that, oh, he's being all nice, you know, all nice now. But we know internally he has some interesting intentions. And of course, I will put the little tidbit. Hinata cleaned up pretty nice in this episode. It's like, ooh, Hinata, okay, I see you. We already know about the rudeness of the Lightspeed Heroes party. And oh, they're so gonna get so humbled. I just can't, this is probably the one thing I can't wait for is the fight scenes in the arena, because I just want them to get so destroyed. It's just gonna be so good. I can already tell, and I can't wait for it. And as we saw, the Rosa girl's here, and we see the contempt on her face as everyone behind her is having smiles and happy, you know, looking forward to the future. She's just kind of like, because we know they plan on doing something, but they're laying low right now. So it will probably be like next season before we start seeing dealings with their issues, or even the end of the season of this season, where it probably hints towards what they plan on doing. But right now, she's, you know, kind of being a spy And even the trader guy was saying that he thought there were some issues out of some of the merchants, but he was like, "Oh, I guess it's no big deal," which leads me to believe that he probably does have some good instincts, because some of the merchants are probably spies as well. So we'll see how that actually develops. But overall, not much happened in this episode. There's a lot of underlying things that will lead to what is going to happen in the future, but in and of itself, of this episode in a nutshell, to me, this was more of a segue episode, as it's a means to an end, and not necessarily a bad one. My only worry, which is probably going to be next episode, but I thought they said that the opera or the musical thing was going to happen after the big dignitary meal, and then it didn't happen. I was like, oh, hopefully they didn't skip it. But it might be the opening ceremony, at the end of the opening ceremony, like the next week's episode where the whole musical thing happens. I hope, because I've heard from you guys that it was actually pretty cool, and definitely I don't think something that they would try to skip over, because I think it'll be pretty nice to see it animated, whatever happens. But regardless, like I said, kind of a segue episode, but not a bad one. We'll see how things develop in the coming episodes, but make sure you guys like the video, make sure you guys subscribe, and do not be a stranger here. I love to see you guys more in the future. Please be safe, take care, and Lord willing, I will see you in the future. Take care, bye-bye for now.
This ain't what you want, bitch, I'm a fucking phenomenon.